had a sobering thought. So it has occurred to me. I'm sure this is something that has always existed in our community, but it has occurred to me that it's some of our brothers and sisters who believe that their success, I don't know if they think that their success, that they can like get rich enough or successful enough that certain stuff don't apply to them. I think that's always been the misinformed, quote unquote, successful black person, since, this white racist system been in place. I think that's been the misconception of a lot of our brothers and sisters who are successful, tend to think that certain stuff don't apply to them, the more successful they become. And on the flip side of that, I do feel like, because I don't feel racism is real, so I do feel like, um, if you got this, if you black, you supposed to have everything you supposed to get. Everything belong to you anyway. So on the flip side of what I just said about how some black people think that they can success their way out of being black, I also just believe we are inherently successful. So I don't believe that we need nothing to define us. Like we don't need, it's nothing that can, we born with success. So it's nothing outside of what we're born with that makes us any more successful or any less successful. Right. So yeah, I believe we are inherently successful simply because without us, it wouldn't be no other human beings. So that alone separates us from all other type of men. We have a distinction, but the things I'm talking about is believing that things outside of outside of your being makes you successful. And it's a lot of our brothers that's black. They soul is just as wicked as these white supremacists or more. And it's some of our brothers, they just confused. I just don't think that, I honestly don't think that they are aware of what the things I just said. That they don't need nothing outside of them to be successful. So this is why I said that. This is where this came from. So me and my brother, we used to always have this debate. My brother always used to say, "Man, it's about money. It's about money." And I used to always tell him, "What good is money if you don't have life?" And then we'd go back and forth about that. And then I always tried to explain what I meant by that, because you got this. My mentality. I look at it like I look at it like, um, what good is life? I mean, what good is money if your life ain't right? Like, what you gonna do? Worst case scenario, if money loses its value. That's the question that I always had for my brother. Like, worst case scenario, big bro, what are you going to do if money, as we know it, loses its value? What's valuable if money becomes invaluable? So That to me is what makes you successful. Your principles, who you are, what you stand on. That to me is more important than any amount of money, man. And I also was thinking about the I Show Speed dude. Not to say like, he feel like that. But I'm sure from watching his response to them Algerians, I'm sure he didn't realize what he had got himself into over there. I'm sure. Like just because I know how young he is. He didn't know. That young man, he got innocent eyes, man. He still believe the world is great. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, I know he not stupid either. So, I think a lot of our brothers and sisters over here in America, when we think Africa, we think, all good shit. You know what I mean? But as y'all seen, if y'all didn't see that I Show Speed, him in Algeria, go check that out, man. It's kind of crazy. It just all it shows is it basically how I interpreted it was like just black people mix black people that's confused. Like, man, that to me is more just like black on black crime in America. It's more like we have to address the immediate threat. The immediate threat to black people is misinformed black people who hate themselves and want to project that hate onto everybody around them. They don't got no car, so they have to rob their neighbors. They have to terrorize their neighbors. You know what I'm saying? That's the immediate issue. You know, we can never forget about the immediate issues, you know what I'm saying? Which, like I said, it's really about proximity. You know what I'm saying? So if you're dealing with a racist white person, he's not necessarily going to pose no immediate harm to you as opposed to this confused brother, you know. I mean, now, see, and that this all of this kind of go back into should we become segregated again? And I was speaking on that the other day. Man, not only do I not want to be segregated, I mean, the area I live like right by a college. So I see a lot of white people where I live at, but they not necessarily my neighbors. They students, right? I bought this house that I live in as investment property. I'm living here now, fixing it up, and plan on renting it out to some college students soon. So, but my first house I bought was in a predominantly white area, you know. And how I ain't gonna lie, how I rationalized that was I start telling my white neighbors that they black too. I remember this shit. The look they used to have on their face, I would tell them because they always love to bring up race, white racist white people or just confused white people. They love to bring up race, right? I think they think they making you feel uncomfortable, but they think you ain't supposed to say nothing. So I always flip it around on them. I always say everybody black. I always flip it around on them. Soon as they say, "Oh, something about black," I had a black friend. They be trying to make us feel uncomfortable. And then I say, as soon as they say that, I say everybody black. Then they say, "What do you mean?" Everybody originally from Africa. You come from me. Without me, it wouldn't be no you. That's what I tell. That's what I used to tell my racist white neighbors, because they think they making you uncomfortable. So no, you're never gonna make me feel uncomfortable. Either way, a lot. of us that live in the hood still, we got to be worried about our own people, you know. So what what good is, because it's sad that you got to be worried about your own people, right? Like as far as an immediate threat. Cause see, when you move around white folks, you got to be worried about them calling the police on. It's a different kind of threat. You know, they trying to fuck with you up here. They threatening this. Threatening this can be more terrorizing than threatening somebody. Actually, it is more terrorizing. So I say that, you can deal with a physical threat easy. It's easy. All you got to do is one thing. But to deal with a mental, you know what I'm saying, a criminal, like they trying to basically criminalize you. Now you got to deal with the judicial system. You got to deal with this dang on these crazy folks in the criminal justice system now, and that is draining. It's not as easy as doing this. So yeah, it's just a different type of threat when you're dealing with white neighbors versus black neighbors. You know, now that black neighbor more likely to take your goddamn life, right? So no, I don't want no goddamn segregation. I don't want to be. I don't want to be forced to worry about losing my life. Not at all. I don't want to be forced into thinking about if my black neighbor gonna do something to me when I know obviously I'm living better than him. I don't want to be put in that situation. So no, I don't want no segregation. To want to go back into segregation would be the dumbest, crazy thing, and our ancestors would be tripping. This whole world is ours. Why should we even think about limiting where we go to? Unless it's places like Russia, like that video I put up that few of y'all watched. But yeah, man, like this whole thing I got from just seeing that and just looking how some of our brothers and sisters are behaving, man, in general. A lot of our brothers and sisters that are very successful, I truly think that they I feel like, and I don't know, but I feel like some of them might think that they're exempt. But I did just clear up how I do feel like we are inherently powerful. So, you know, hopefully, we don't have no people within our community that think that they can wealth their way out of being black. But I'm only saying this because I see how these people treat other black people, right? That to me is a sign. No matter what comes out of their mouth, you got to watch how you treat people. Watch how people treat other people, right? So no matter what comes out of their mouth, you just watch their actions, watch their behavior, and it just becomes abundantly clear that, yeah, these people think that they have successed their way out of what it means to be black. And to me, what it means to be black is to stay aware, stay in tune, stay compassionate about who we are within, knowing who you are within. That's actually the first thing. Knowing that we more than a race, we more than black. We are a spiritual being more than anything. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We are God in the flesh. None more, none less. That's what it means to me, you know. So I never want to success my way out of thinking that I'm not who I am no more. I think that I think that's almost like living death to some degree. To some degree, I think if you feel like you have successed your way out of being who you are, you basically walking dead. No matter how much money you got, you the walking dead. You don't. You might as well not exist no more. Yeah, yeah, man. That's all. That's all I wanted to put this out there, man. All right, y'all. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.